So, just kind of give you a little start. So, the bar opened in 1850 as a traveler's inn for Union Station. So originally it was just this part of the bar. The front half of the building, or the front half of the bar that Brad's room is, that's actually the original wood and the actual bar from 1850. Nothing's changed. Obviously, we did some touch-ups on it.
Okay.
And then about 50 years ago, we added this piece right here to kind of match it. But yeah, so that's kind of that story. Original ceiling tile press. But yeah, so this is the original part of it. This was later added on later, so upstairs, which I'll tell you guys last, the family that owned the bar lived above here, and then the inn was on this side, which is later got turned into a whorehouse. But we'll go through more of that in a minute. So this was the original part. They had the seating here, the kitchen was on the back side, and then booths were along the side over here. Basement. Hopefully you got a lot of battery on that thing. Cause it takes a minute.
I got a lot. I can't run down a little bit.
Yeah, be careful. Okay, so we're gonna head that way in a minute, but that, where that cutout is in that door, that's the original basement of where it was. All the limestone you see on the wall actually comes from the same mills down in southern Indiana as the monuments in DC are made out of.
Okay.
So, a little history about that. This window right here, a long time ago, actually used to be street level up there anyway, so they could get sunlight down into the basement. But more interesting enough, back in this corner, should have the flashlights somewhere. So this used to be an ice block chute. So where this grate is, I'm going to show you in a picture here later, upstairs. This used to be street level, and what this was is a company would come by, and before ice machines were ever made, this is where they'd open this up and drop sheets of ice down into here, and then they'd store it in bins before it could, cake goods and stuff. This brick is an original, but before then, this is where a lot of the furnaces were. So I'm going to take you guys now to actually where the coal chute was, where they would drop sheets of coal down here. So you guys said this is your first time here?
Yes.
Very nice. Where are you guys from?
Well, they're from here. I'm actually from Louisiana.
Okay, nice. So right there is where you can kind of see through the foundation with the black on it. So that was the coal chute originally. So they dropped the coal down there, and then they'd haul it on carts into the back where the furnaces were. So, yeah, so this is where the original basement ended, and then eventually they dug on and added more. So this is where the interesting part is. So this, you can probably guess, is part of the Underground Railroad. So, during the slave trade, and this is where they actually kept the slaves at. So, because back then, if a black man didn't have papers on the streets, they get picked up and get put to work. So, this is where they'd come hide away until they got moved up to Canada and farther up north. So they could be in here weeks, months at a time. And I'm going to show you here in a second just how small the rooms were, but they could be in there, like I said, for weeks, months, and a couple of people at a time. After slave trade, prohibition comes along. We're the oldest continuous running bar in Indiana. The doors never got shut down from 1850 until last year with COVID. So we're the oldest continuous running bar because during the prohibition time we were making booze illegally through stills. With the help of eBay, we kind of got a mock set up of what it would look like. So you can tell too, like how high or low the ceilings are and how short that ground is. So yeah, this is where actual slaves spent their time down here, and this was their freedom. But and another cool thing is up here, I don't know a whole lot about it, but this Michigan lumber stamp, apparently that was a huge thing way back before, even during the slave trade. They were a huge lumber manufacturing company. And they used to print their company logo on it, I guess their name. So yeah, that's a little history about that. So yeah, the place is I don't know how much you guys have read about it, but it's very haunted.
Oh, I've read so much about it.
Good.
I know I guess this is it right here, then.
Yeah, so this
when the flood happened, right?
Yep, so this where we just walked in the 1950s and 60s, there used to be a sewage passage underneath there. And before, during that time, this was all just concrete. And they used to joke, like, before, because right in this area, general vicinity, there used to be like a big circle, and it'd seep down like a foot to 2 feet at a time. And the owners, back in the late 90s, would just joke around, like, oh, there's probably someone buried down there. If there is, leave it alone, whatever. So, with that being said, within the past 20 years, we've had 3 totally different psychic groups come in here, stay overnight, and do a bunch of different heat studies and a bunch of other different, just like trying to figure out what's going on within the building, talk to the spirits and whatnot. The one 10 years ago, this guy named Spivey, him and his group came in here and did an overnight study, and him and the boss that actually still works here, they came down here, lights off, and they said they could see a hand sticking out from underneath the ground underneath here.
Oh, wow.
And he said, there's probably people buried underneath there, just leave them alone. So they actually, before they put concrete over it, they had a priest come in here and do a full like blessing and everything on it. So
yeah, I read that one.
Yeah, so then they put concrete over it. And then the most recent group that came in, they did a study, and they were setting up cameras and setting up shop in here, and one of the guys was in here, and all of his people left different parts of the building, which we're about to go to the back bar. So they had a person in the back bar, our manager was up above him, and then there's another guy up in the office by the whorehouse. And this guy's sitting right here with all the lights off, and he can hear footsteps coming up the hallway. He turns around, shows us, I think it was like a UV light on it. Nothing, he couldn't see anything. So he turns the light back off, looks at his computer monitor, and he starts hearing it come from the keg cooler, like big like footsteps.
Right.
So what they found within these psychic groups is that there's 4 different spirits within the bar. The one that's seen most common is this man that lives in the basement. I guess he's a black man that wears overalls, and they believe he was like the caretaker. He did all the cooking, he did all taking care of the slaves when they were here. You know, probably got barely paid, if paid at all. Ty or Marty, can you grab that? 1 or 2?
Yep.
So this guy's been seen quite frequently, especially in this hallway. So that is another backstory. So that keg room that we were just in, about 8 years ago, there's a keg delivery driver, and this was his first stop of the day. You'd come here about 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. He went into that room, flipped on the light switch. The man was standing right in front of him. Said he shut the light off, shut it back on.
I never showed it back up.
No, and he actually quit his job that day.
Oh,
he said, hell no, I'm out of here. So that man's been seen quite frequently, especially from a lot of different other employees. Our boss has actually seen him in this hallway multiple times. I'm gonna shut this light. Yeah, so that's like our main showroom. These are just storage now, But yeah, he said he was coming through this hallway and he saw a figure, a big black shadow, and he turned the light on, and about where that second door we just at, he was there. And I'm going to show you actually how dark it gets down there. And we have people all the time that a lot of employees will set up chairs here with their phones the whole night shift, just see if they can see something.
Right.
And you really, they say they can see orbs, little orbs, but a lot of it, so we just walk through that, you'll have little tiny dust particles flying.
Right.
So this room, so this room is, we call it the entryway. So a little history about this room. So when the inn opened, this is where they mainly like stored all their waste and urine. So before you step in there, I'm just gonna let you know, obviously a lot of things have happened in this room since then. So this room was the entryway, and we call it that for a couple different reasons. We believe it was one of the main entries to the Underground Railroad and some underground tunnels underneath the city. So our manager upstairs, him and his buddies, actually one night about 15 years ago, got super drunk, came down here and went digging underneath.
No.
They actually fell into a tunnel. And the tunnel went to the Rolls-Royce building and to Union Station. And they said there was a couple other tunnels, but they were blocked off because they couldn't get anywhere just because over time and stuff. So they filled in the tunnel and came back up. And story ever since. So what else? So this is another room that they set up shop for these psychics, and they actually believe, so within the bar there's 4 or more unsolved murders within the building. So they did a study in here, and one of the main reasons is because they believe there's a couple and a kid buried or murdered in this room, because A lot of times, these psychic groups set up in here, and they actually have to leave this room because their heat sensors are going off so much, and they think something like bad or just it's getting really too aggressive in here for them. So this is a very room that a lot of people don't like to come into. We actually have one in the server. She's not working tonight, but she says she literally can't walk into this room because she feels like someone's pushing her out. So, but yeah, so they believe there's actually a woman, and we think her name's Sarah, was actually hung in the back bar and was buried underneath there. That's a lot of the stories people say about that. So it's pretty crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love it. I love stories like that, man. Histories.
So this room right here was where that man in the overalls I was talking about earlier, this is where he did a lot of his cooking. So he had, his kitchen set up over here, and then along this wall, this is where he hung all and butchered all this meat.
Right.
So we've cooked it for this, slaves and people in the inn, employees as well. So this is in the family upstairs. So this is kind of where he did all that. That's just a tour room. Don't let it freak you out. So back when it was a Traveler's Inn, where I'm about to take you next, there's a Traveler's Inn before, cars and whatnot. Where I'm about to take you, when it was an inn, this back bar area was a horse and buggy area. So they had horses on one side, the buggies on the hayloft upstairs. So this right here used to be an elevator shaft for the horse feed. So the guy had the horse feed down here, and you could shoot it up. So this is our back bar area. Wednesday nights, Friday nights, and Saturday nights we're open back here. Thursdays are typically just up in the front, just with post-COVID. A lot of the numbers have gone down, so we're shut down back here tonight. But Fridays, Saturdays, we always have two bands going. So when this place opened, this was where the horses were, along these windows here. And then before the stage was here, all the buggies were lined up along here. And then where that carpet's draped down, that was an exterior garage door where it'd lift, then go in and out. So, and then upstairs was the hayloft, which is now, we also have a bar up there. So we have a bar down here and a bar upstairs. So Prohibition starts coming along, slave trade's like coming to an end, and it became empty. The warehouse, or this became empty. Cars, automotive business started picking up. So these started to empty. Have you guys heard of John Dillinger and his gang?
No.
No? Okay, so John Dillinger was a big gangbanger within central Indiana, Kentucky, and southern Illinois. So one of his main hideouts was in this back room. So this is where he would come, and they believe a lot of these murders within the bar are traced back to him. I mean, what better place than an empty abandoned warehouse to do it?
Right.
So this is where he would come and hang out. There isn't a whole lot of history we can trace back to him besides we have two bullets still on the wall that actually we have documentation traced back to his weapon, and then right here. Yeah.
Wow.
And they believe this could be just a shotgun shrapnel and different stuff like that. So
Right here, kind of like right there, kind of detonated.
sure, yeah. So after his time here, obviously he didn't stay here for very long. This became empty again. So the owners were like, we don't know what to do with this. So they opened it actually as an art gallery. So this family, I think of 2 or 3, lived upstairs, and then they sold art down here. So they're big artists, and that's how they make their living. If you actually look at this painting on the behind the bar and the glass, it's hard to see. Actually, we can walk over there if you want. So this painting here is actually a painting that he drew, and they believe that's actually a painting of his wife. There's one here and there's one at the front bar, so that's kind of traced back to him. And then in 1963, the Yagi family bought it, turned it into a bar back here, and ever since then it's been called the Slippery Noodle. They call it the Slippery Noodle just because they were in here when they bought it. It's like 4 o'clock in the morning. They were drunk and they were like, well, we got to think of some creative name that sticks out, and they just picked the Slippery Noodle, and it stuck since. So the owner passed away the owner's husband, so the owner now, her husband passed away about 1.5 years ago in November. His dad was the one that bought it in '63, and he actually bought it for his 2 other sons. They went to college and they wanted nothing to do with it. And the owner that passed actually worked at Eli Lilly. And I don't know how much you know about Eli Lilly, but if you work there, you're working there until you're retired, kind of ordeal.
Right.
So he moved from Eli Lilly, came here, took over the bar business, and now his wife runs it, and his 2 son and stepson also help run it. So that's kind of where we're at now. Obviously, a lot of different changes with, like, when the Super Bowl was here, we put up this railing along the top. So, yeah, and now it's a blues bar, and Hal was a big into the blues, and they wanted to keep it blues, or make it a blues bar, because, I mean, country, you got,
Too many
fights, rock and roll, you're going to have fights. I mean, it is what it is.
I'm always been in the blues. So.
Yeah, there you go.
And then when I heard about this place, I started reading histories on it.
Yep.
Then I was reading more and more. I was like, man, I gotta check this place out.
Well,
And yesterday was my birthday, so I had
Happy
to do it.
late birthday, man.
I had to do it, man.
Yeah.
I tried to do it last weekend, but it was so packed with everything. I was like, man, we'll wait till a slow day.
Yeah, good day to do it. So we'll go upstairs, actually where the whorehouse is now. So starting here, when it first opened, this used to be just a door, and this used to be just an alleyway up to the bar. It's like an exterior alleyway, so this was all open. And then the other building actually was like not too far on the other side of the wall. You kind of tell too with this window.
Excuse me.
So this is what would have been the inn starting out. Down this hallway on your left, that's where the families would have been. Obviously, it's been renovated since.
Right.
So this is what the whorehouse makeshift would have looked like. You actually come in and feel the wallpapers are original, velvet. It's pretty neat. So this is the bed size and everything. You got the old ashtray in here. So a little bit about it too. When we took up the carpet, this newspaper, 1933, and on the back of it, it was talking about how Germany was going to kick everyone's ass in the war. So it's kind of ironic. So yeah, dating back to 1933, we found that. We also found this little cubby hole. In that cubby hole, that's where we believe the hookers would actually hide all their money and guns.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So that's just a little history about this. You know, back then with no air conditioning at the really high ceilings.
Right.
And then so in 1953, the whorehouse had to come to an end because this one guy fell in love with one of the hookers and was like, okay, well, we found love. You need to stop. Like, get out of this business. And she wouldn't. So one day he came in here and she didn't tell him he was doing anything. So she was actually up here with another guy. He came up here, found her with another man, killed the guy with a knife, and he went downstairs and walked out the front door. Before he did, he stuck the knife in the front bar. And our bartender up there, before you guys leave, or I can try and go show you if it's not too busy, there's still a little mark on the bar itself of where the knife was. So that's pretty cool.
Oh, wow.
So the state came in, they're like, all right, so you got to pick one of the 2 businesses. You either can do hookers and whatever, or you got to stick with the bar. So they stuck with the bar business, which is smart. So yeah, this is just kind of a little setup. I'll show you this painting of what it used to look like. That owner that passed away, he was a big collector. So that's where you see all these different signs. And there's a ton more down there. So this was that ice chute I was talking about.
Right.
In the basement. So that's what this would have looked like. Over time too, you can see there used to be a little step into the bar. So that's all come up. So this is our front bar. This is where you guys are sitting in the atrium.
Mm-hmm.
This is our patio, and then this is our parking lot.
Okay.
So just over time, you can kind of see. This is actually one of the original windows from when it did open up, early 60s. So that's what that would have looked like. But yeah, a lot has changed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great.
And now it's pretty much all storage rooms. But yeah, it's pretty crazy, man.
When's the last activity happened around here?
For ghost wise,
Yeah.
so funny you asked that. So Easter Sunday, we have another group coming in, and my manager asked me, he goes, "You want to come in and stay in?" I said, "Hell no, man, fuck that." So I mean, it just happens on me personally. Nothing crazy's happened in the last year, but I mean, I'd say when our owner passed, Marty, our GM, it was about a week after, and I left. I'm at home. And he texts me, he goes, "Are you still here?" I go, "No." He goes, "Well, someone's knocking on the bathroom door," which is literally right around the corner. There's been times where he's been sitting at that desk over here, and actually this door to the whorehouse was open, slammed shut, and locked.
Oh.
So yeah, I mean, when people ask like, "Do you believe in ghosts here?" and I said, "Yeah, I haven't had like anything crazy happen, knock on wood," because I mean, I just don't try to bother them or anything. But
Yeah.
they're definitely here. So. Actually, I'll show you.
No,
I'll show you a spot where one of our bartenders. She's been here for a while. She's been here for a while, and she. This is our band staging area. I mean, it's a little different over there. This is the main room. So she walked by here, on that seat there on the right. She said she walked by here and she saw an old man in a hat, a cowboy hat, smoking a cigarette. So she walked up here, turned back around. The dude was gone, but the smoke was still there. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, it's hard to make that up. But recently, I can't really think of anything. So,
So you got a group coming Easter?
yeah, they're gonna come in and do an overnight study. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, this is our main office, so it's nothing crazy anymore.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, it's not